Hey guys, I hope everything's well with you and your families. As you know, COVID-19's had a really big impact on the property market and the industry in general. We're finding there's a lot of confusion out there, so we thought we'd take this opportunity to have a bit of a chat. Our CEO, Trevor Back, and I wanted to discuss a few things and let you know what's happening at Raine Horne Green Square and answer some questions you might have. Hey Trevor.
Hi Alicia, hi everyone, nice to be with you.
It's been a really crazy 7 weeks at Raine Horne Green Square and just in general. So Trevor's been the main person dealing with a lot of the COVID-19 issues. How's it going, Trevor?
Did you say 7 weeks, Alicia, or 7 months?
That same month?
It seems like 7 months, I can tell you.
Oh, of course I did.
Yeah, no, it's been okay. How the world's changed in 7 weeks, I can't believe that if you ask somebody that would we be in this situation after 7 weeks, you would never think this. So it has been a very interesting time. I've pretty much done nothing for the last 7 weeks. Except process rent reductions. So, as you know, Alicia, I've given myself a new title as the Minister for Rent Reductions. So, yeah, no, it's been interesting times, but I think the thing that's held us in good stead is the process that we put in place at the beginning. We put quite a rigorous process in place around people asking for rent reductions. So that's held us in good stead. And it's really helped us sort out the genuine cases from the non-genuine cases. So, yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, a lot of opportunistic tenants.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that. I'm often asked by our landlords, well, do you think this person's on the take or do you think they're genuine? And I'd say that the majority of them are very genuine, but there are a few that are using this time and this opportunity to get a reduction in their rent.
Yeah, that's it. So when a tenant approaches you for a rental reduction, what's the process behind that?
Okay, so step one is that they send me an email and they say, due to COVID-19, could you please ask the landlord for a reduction of $150? Thank you, regards. So that's pretty easy to send that email.
Yeah.
We go back and say, yeah, that's fine. Happy to have a chat with your landlord. But firstly, we want you to fill in the tenant hardship application form. So we shoot that back out to them. And then they complete that and send it back into us. And we summarise the data that they've sent back in, because by the time I have a conversation with our landlords, I want to have as much information as I can so we can have an informed discussion. So yeah, we've been pretty strict around that process. And it's interesting that that once we go out to the landlord, obviously it becomes a negotiation then. So it's a negotiation on what the tenant's asking and what the landlord can give. Really interesting that tenants seem to think that they're the only ones affected by COVID-19. When I go out and have a chat to the landlords, many of our landlords have lost their jobs themselves, their hours have been reduced. So there's this misconception that COVID only has affected the tenants but not the landlords. So we're doing a lot of education around this before we actually go to the landlord. So for example, they don't understand also that in any of the government relief packages that there's been zero relief for landlords, nothing. So I'm spending a lot of time educating them about, the landlord's position as well as their own position.
Yeah, absolutely. So when they're approaching you, what, in terms of figures, what sort of reductions are you looking at? What are they asking for?
It varies. Every case is different. Where they've ranged, the reductions range anywhere from 10 to 70%. So every case is different. So the work around processing these applications has been really intense because we just need to make sure that they're genuine. And I'm not going to go to any of our landlords until I have that degree of comfort that what I'm taking to the landlord is a genuine situation. So yeah, 10 to 70% they range from. There's a combination of different things happening. Some landlords are giving a straight reduction, as you know, Alicia, because you're on the end of this, changing all the leases and stuff. So some are a straight reduction. We call them a temporary reduction. This is a really important differentiation. It's not a rent reduction, it's a temporary reduction. Some are giving a straight reduction, others are giving a temporary reduction now, and then deferring the balance of the rent to be paid at a later date. So they'll enter into an instalment plan with the tenant and they'll pay that off somewhere down the track when they go back to full employment. So I just wanted to say around this whole thing with rent reductions and the interaction with the landlord, I just want to say thank you to those landlords, and some of you are watching this and I've had lots of discussions with you over the last weeks, for your compassion and cooperation in helping us get to a position with these rent reductions.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So in terms of the rent roll, when you look at the number of people that are impacted, how many do you think would be affected that we've been dealing with in a percentage?
I think I've sent out about 150 tenant hardship applications. I think we've processed about 90. There's still some in progress, and some we haven't got their applications back yet. So yeah, it's probably about, I don't know, 20% or 25% of tenants that have reached out and asked for assistance.
Okay. So longer term, what do you predict is going to happen to the local property market? Where do you think things are going to go?
I wish I had a crystal ball, Alicia, to be able to answer this. But let me answer it in two parts. The rental market first. The rents in Green Square have come back at around 10 to 15% in 7 weeks. So the rents have dropped about 10 to 15% in 7 weeks. The vacancy list is growing by the day. Tenants are either packing up and going home to live with mum and dad, or at the end of their lease, they're downsizing. So they're going from the nice 2-bedder into a 1-bedder because the rent's cheaper. The other big impact on vacancies at the moment is Airbnb. We're seeing a lot of Airbnb properties being converted back to permanent residential lettings. So that's actually increasing the amount of stock on the market. So there's a lot of the Airbnbs being reconverted back to residential. Yeah. So yeah, so in terms of rents, I think we're going to see the rental market under pressure for a while to come. I think that we have to drop rents and we have to continue to monitor the rents to meet the market, because if we don't meet the market, when it comes around to a lease renewal, for example, and you're having chats with lots of landlords around lease renewals, the tenants are using this opportunity to negotiate a reduction in their rent. If they don't get it, they'll actually pack up and move because they can get it cheaper down the road. I saw yesterday one agency that was advertising a property that would normally rent for about $1,100 a week. They advertised it for $900 a week, and they offered the tenant 4 weeks free rent. So with our lease renewals, we really have to be, and our landlords have to be prepared to negotiate a rent. And as we say, and I'm sure you've had this discussion, Alicia, and certainly I have, that it's much better to have a tenant in your property paying a reduced rent than to have no tenant in your property, receiving no rent. As I keep on saying, this is a time to keep your tenant. It's not the time to find another tenant. So I think we just have to continue to meet the market, and I think the rental market will be under pressure for a while to come because of the amount of vacancies that are on the market. Yeah. If I turn to sales, in January and February this year, we were seeing a tick up in the sales. We were seeing that the prices were increasing. There was more buyer activity. There was more stock coming onto the market. Well, that certainly came to a crashing halt when COVID hit. So the sales market, I just feel that the sales market's going to recover quicker than the rental market, providing we can get the valuations up. Because what's happening is that the banks have obviously said to the valuers, be strict on the valuations, and they certainly are. So I could sell a property for $600,000. The valuers come in and value it at $540 or $550. So the purchaser can't borrow 80% of 600 anymore. They can only borrow 80% of 550, and of course they can't find that money, so they're just walking away. So I think if we can get the valuations up, I think that the sales market's going to recover quicker than the rental market. But who knows? It changes every day. So that's just my prediction.
Yeah, there's some changes to the stamp duty with the sales market too, isn't there? Are they removing the stamp duty?
Well, it's been mooted in New South Wales that they're going to have some stamp duty concessions. I saw the Treasurer get asked about this yesterday, and he said, "Oh, it's only a concept at this stage. We haven't really put any detail around it." So I wouldn't hold our breath waiting for the stamp duty concessions, Alicia.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, it's going to be a really, really interesting time ahead, isn't it?
It is. Interesting times we live in. As you know, as a team, Alicia, we're quite upmarket and buoyant. We've never been busier, but some of it's for the wrong reasons and not the right reasons. But you know, our job, as we always say in our team, is to protect our landlords, and we're doing everything we can at the moment to make sure that our landlords are protected, and at the same time look after our tenants, because, you know, a good tenant in your property is gold, and particularly at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. We all just need to work together and get through this, don't we?
We do. And as I say, the landlords that I've been talking to over the last 7 weeks have been amazing. And for those landlords that I haven't spoken to over the last 7 weeks, you don't want to get a phone call from me. You don't want to get an email from me, because it's more than likely going to be something to do with temporary rent reductions.
Yeah. No news is good news.
That's
You don't
it.
want to hear from Trevor.
You can talk to the landlords, Alicia. They don't want to talk to me.
I'll do the good news course.
You did a good news call.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's going to be, as we say, a very challenging time ahead. So if you do need anything from any of us here in the office, just reach out. We're all here to help and work through this, and yeah, do the best that we can to have positive outcomes for everybody. So very good. And before we go, just wishing all the mothers out there a lovely Mother's Day coming up this Sunday. Hopefully you get to spend some time with the people you love and smile and enjoy yourself. So thanks again, everyone, for your time, and take care.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Bye for now.